for me hills to full country to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of our great show. I see Mr. Valley is upside down. You see, he's like a white chicken. You can't praise him. I praised him earlier. I said, Mr. Valley, you keep on straight. And all of a sudden, he's upside down. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of On Point. We want to say this is Happy Flag Day to the Republic of Liberia. For those of us who grew up there, this time of the year, we are all hyped. We're ready to go to the different parade and give our eye right. That's Flag Day, where we pledge our support and our alliances, and we show patriotism. The Republic of Liberia, our Flag Day, our National Flag Day. So today we are going to be talking about the National Flag Day and current events in Liberia. How patriotic have we been? Let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Eastman. How you doing, Chief?
Hey, thank you, Jerome. It's a pleasure being here on our Flag Day in honor of our beloved country. That flag has been a topic of this discussion, but I think as much as it is, we can intellectualize, our heart has to be given to the country first, not just our minds. Thank you.
Great. Let me welcome, guys. I think somebody, if you can you mute? Let me welcome Mr. Tawo. Mr. Tawo, how you doing? It's a happy Flag Day to you.
Yeah, same to you. Hi to my fellow panelists and to our viewers. I'm glad to be here today to be part of this discussion.
Great. Let me order of entering into the studio, Mr. Valley. How you doing there, sir? Happy Flag Day to you.
I'm doing great. Great to be with you guys again. You know, I remember the Flag Day during our days in school, secondary school, and even primary school. And when I compare those days to these guys that are going to school these days, they're really not enjoying anything. I remember, like today, we were up, school by school in a competition. You know how we used to do it when you go, right? You know what I mean? You know, all that stuff. They don't have it anymore. I mean, like Mr. Isla said, flag issue. The discussion. I strongly believe that flag must be changed, totally changed. We will not be the only one. A lot of countries have done this. Upper Volta had to change not only the flag, but the name of their country to represent their ancestry. And so there's a need to do that. But again, as Liberians, you know, we normally don't agree. It's not going to work. We're going to have the argument for the next 100 years. There's going to be a lot of counter arguments. It's just impossible for us to agree on one thing. The flag must be changed. The liberty, seal of liberty must be adjusted, and everything must be done to show our ethnicity, our culture, our tradition, and our ancestry. So we can't just copy for 178 years. And because we've copied something that is not part of our nature, it really doesn't help us. It really has not helped us. And if we continue to just copy and paste, we will just remain in the same spot. We have to originate. But again, I'm great. I'm very grateful to be on here.
Great. My sister is picking force with me. This woman here always picking force. She said, my accent, my Bassa accent is bad. She said, I said Liberia. I should be saying Liberia. Okay. Stella, you need to come on the show and teach me. I know you're a teacher, so you can teach me phonics, so I can be hooked on phonics. Mr. Dukley, happy Flag Day to you.
Happy Flag Day to you, Mr. Gaiman, and happy Flag Day to my fellow panelists. It is a pleasure to be here today on this solemn day of National Flag Day. Thank you.
Great. Let's, Mr. Eastman, you are the historian here, you are the diplomat. I have pulled up some articles on the Liberian flag. Let's devote about 15-20 minutes and pay tribute and homage and respect to our flag and those who made it possible. Talk to us a little bit about our flag. You are muted. Mr. Eastman, you are muted.
Thank you very much. Yes. So let's go into the historicity of our flag. When many say it resembles the United States flag, and I appreciated what my brother Aliyu said just now, but I will tell you one of the reasons why it was very strategic having that resemblance. Well, first of all, the stripes stand for the 11 signatories, red and white stamps. So, well, 11 signatories to the Independence Declaration of Independence. Okay, and then the red symbolizes the courage and sacrifices for freedom. The white, moral excellence and purity. The blue field is the African mainland, and the white star represented that star, the only independent country in Africa. So that's the history of it. But it was strategically done in that way. It wasn't just a copy and paste. At that time, the scramble for Africa was very heated. And in order for Liberia to survive, one of the things they did, because we were between the French and the British, they were carving up Africa. And they would have attacked, they would have carved up Liberia had it not been that the United States it declared that Liberia was under its influence, so they should not. So that having a flag that resembled the American flag helped keep invaders off Liberia. So it sort of added that extra protection. Yeah, these guys are part of the United States, hands off. And that is how Liberia, one of the reasons why Liberia survived and was not joined to one of the colonial properties or apartments around the country. But notwithstanding, a lot have evolved. And if we want something more symbolic of the unity of I rather call it the development of Liberia. Right now, Liberia has evolved, and to have it resemble some more evolved Liberia, I totally support that, and I can understand that. But I agreed too with Brother Aliyu here that the emblem. Now, the emblem is something of good discussion. In many things, it says the love of liberty brought us here. That doesn't include everybody. Everybody was not brought there. The bird with the scroll, that represents, as in the case of Noah, when he gave that dove to a parcel to carry to the mainland and came back with an olive, that he know that the sea had abated. The wheelbarrow and the show the quest for agriculture, but it has to involve everybody. We have to make sure everybody is represented in our emblems, in our symbols, so that we cultivate a culture of unity, making the Liberian one person, not a separate groups of people, but one person signified. So
Excellent.
that's a brief history of it.
Excellent. Mr. Towell, there are some folks who are saying our flag need to be changed. And then there was this big debate now at the different universities in Africa that it looks like all the African flags are looking alike. They all, you could barely tear most of them apart now because the flags basically mimic each other. So what's the difference? Why don't we keep our flag? Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Welcome, Brother Namwe, even though you are late. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Towell.
Taught me high school doing that, but I'm always late.
I did put an announcement in the chat room though, but it's good to be here. Thank you for that.
Mr. Ethan gave a very good summary. But look at what happened here before. This is what I would say here, that yes, it's true that there was scramble of Africa, but we should always remember that Liberia colonized, because the people that came from here, even though we had the same skin color, because that's the same mistake we keep making today, that we have people that will come from the US completely ideologically and culturally have no them told the people in Liberia they will come claiming to be Liberian. So no, even though they were dark skin or brown skin, like the people they met there, but culturally, linguistically, and everything else ideologically, there was no. So they were the conquerors. It is written where U.S. brought gunboat. What you think they call the American Colonization Society? That was a colonizing force, pretty much. Okay, and yes, they were splitting up the country between the French and the British. But I don't really think that is. The thing is that they came with everything that they knew, from where they were born, from where they grew up, their entire orientation and bearing was in the US. So they didn't have anything original in the land in which they were going to go. They were going to bring things with them, and you can't blame them for that. They brought things that they were familiar with, that they were comfortable with. So let us really establish that. Now, having said that, changing the flag is, yeah, if it's done, it's okay, but to what end? So you change the flag, or you going to change Bwaka upon them and Edwin Snow them? So changing the flag, why? Is okay. Changing national anthem is okay. Changing name of streets, but you have to have a system that is moving at least in a progressive direction, because all these things are symbolic to some extent. Yes, symbolism have some sociological stuff, but you can change all the flag you want if the country is not running well. It's not going to make any difference. The message that you are even trying to put out is not going to take root. And so I'm not really big on that. And that's part of Liberia's history, right? So, hey, we started here. This is how this happened. And that can be, if the country is working, that can be something good. You can point it out. That, hey, this is what we started. These are the things. But look at where we are going. Look at where we are. Look at where we have come from. But you could change the flag. It don't do anything. And the thing with that flag is it's the same mistake that we continue to make. The people came from here, and this is the culture they knew. And there was nothing wrong, because they didn't know anything about the African culture, even though there have been gap between us. The same mistake is we made. They still got diaspora now hyping themselves to be some kind of demigod that's supposed to know everything, have no originality, have no real point of no orientation. Everything is copycat from the US. They go to Liberia to know everything. The same mistake is still being carried out. So I won't really dwell on what happened 1847 because the mistake is being made now. We go in, we want to change the calendar to June to this is instead of March. They want to change it. We want to use dual currency so that we can sell for money of one. So this right here changing the flag, yes. But let's look at the mistake that we made, right? Or things that were done that we don't think is right now that we want to change. But it's being repeated in so many forms right now.
Okay, thank you. Let me go to Honorable Dukley. Dukley, our flag. Someone talk about our symbols that the love of liberty brought us here, or we know that I was just going over the Bassa history with my children, and the details coming from the Nile Valley all the way. So we all came there. The Mandingos came there. The Fulas came there. The Val came. Everybody. So isn't it we came here because we love being here, the love of liberty? But let's stick to the flag. Your take on the flag and the symbols that follows.
You know, Liberia itself as a nation is a nation that is symbol of contradictions and symbols of everything that is wrong with colonization. You know, as much as we like to convince ourselves that Liberia was not colonized, and you can only say that probably in a traditional colonization, in a traditional sense of colonization, but besides that, Liberia was colonized in every other sense you can imagine. And so just because it was not formally declared as such doesn't mean it didn't happen that way. And so I would like to slightly differ with my brother Tao here. You see, every nation on earth has gone through some form of revolution and at different levels. And so, yes, I mean, we cannot deny our past. We cannot erase our past. But I think we need to recognize, you know, the exclusionary mentality and exclusionary laws that were introduced at the expense of the native of Liberia must be told, must be reflected in our history. And as unfortunate as it might be, that a greater part of our history was written by non-Liberians. In other words, most of what we know today as our history was written by non-Liberians for Liberians. And that's one part of the problem. The other part is, look, we can, as much as we cannot get away from our past, I think we need to start from somewhere. And that somewhere, in my opinion, has to do with the flag. Because the flag, as it is right now, it represents entirely the settlers and what they did, you know, as Jimmy just said, the 11 tribes representing the 11 men that signed the Declaration of Independence. But what happened since then? Until 1915, when Daniel E. Howard, signed into law an act that proclaimed August 24th as National Flag Day. And then what? Look, it's not unorthodox to sort of advocate for these changes. Like I said earlier, many countries have gone through this. We can still preserve our history, as now we are in a position where we can do that, and let the history onward represent us as a whole. Because right now, with all these symbols, it doesn't represent us as a whole. It represents us in part. And so it is important that we recognize what has been done and what needs to be done, and follow that route. Because look, healing a nation doesn't happen overnight. And so, but we need to embark on the road to that healing. And part of that healing is to recognize who we are in our history, and to not erase our past, because we can actually do that. And so the flag, the emblem, and all these exclusionary symbols need to be done with. We need to get rid of them, and bring in symbols that represent us, the symbol that represent our new republic. We can't. I mean, look, we cannot be different from other nations who have embarked on this path, where they have changed their flag. In other instances, they've even changed the name of their country, and changed many other aspects of their nation. So Liberia should not be an exception to that. And I think I actually consider it to be a missed opportunity since the overthrow of the ruling party to date. And sometimes when I talk about missed priorities, so, succeeding governments have, they have misplaced their priorities. For me, these are some of the things that I'm talking about as misplacing their priorities. Because I mean, we can't be talking about this for the next another 100 years. It's almost going to 200 years that we're talking about this. We have had this. That's sufficient time in history to be reckoned with, and it's about time we move forward. I mean, this is not moving forward as long as we retain these symbols that represent nothing more than oppression, exclusion, and all the vice that comes with the ruling with the rule of the True Party. So I'm one of those who are on the side of changing everything that represents them.
Great. Mr. Namwe, my astute sister here, my Jersey girl, is saying we are barking on the wrong tree. Worry about the Constitution that killing us, and leave the flag alone.
Yeah, I don't know if the two are really necessarily exclusive. I mean, we can do both. And I agree with Jimmy. I think the flag really it doesn't fully represent, you know, it doesn't embody, the various, subdivisions, citizens, in Liberia. We're one country, but we're a diverse country from different, several different backgrounds. And the flag really doesn't fully represent us. So I know after the 1980 coup, there was a lot of, there was talk about changing the flag and the seal, but that didn't pan out. But yeah, I think eventually we have to do that because all of these add up to nationalism, love of country. That's part of the problem we have in Liberia. We really don't have much to fight for. There's not much symbol, that will rally out of us. But yeah, I agree with that. There isn't really much to it at this time because I think why this person, I was pushing back on whether we can do both, but they do have a point. I think we have a lot more pressing needs right now that we could, address and come to that later. But yes, should it be changed to represent all of us in Liberia? Absolutely, I agree with that. But happy Flag Day to all. For now, it is our, symbol that rallies us on this day. So happy Flag Day to all. Happy Flag Day to my audience here. And I just shared the show on my page. Kindly do likewise. Share the show. Invite a friend to join us. It's good to be here.
Thank you. And let me welcome the Senator in waiting for Grand Judah County, Mr. Anthony Gay Sr. Mr. Anthony Gay, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for always flagging that. I mean, that's a free publicity. I want to appreciate. That.
It's not free. It's not free. I'm going to send you the invoice. I'm going to send you the invoice. I'm bothering you up. But Mr. Gay, let's talk about. Can we talk about the flag? If you had a choice between pressing issues, the Constitution that is actually killing us now, or the flag, if I give you a choice, which one would you address now?
I will address neither. I will address the economic issue of Liberia and the drug epidemic first and foremost. That is the most important thing right now we need to address, and the flag and the constitution can be addressed. Look, as we sit here, if the current number stays as is, we will soon have over 1.1 million people in Liberia considered, just infected or disenfranchised youth. The drug epidemic in Liberia is very bad. So the flag issue is important. The constitutional amendment is important. I disagree with rewriting the constitution. I'm for amending what we have because there are some good part of the constitution that we currently have, and some other part we need to amend. Yes, the July 26th orator mentioned the same thing in his speech, that the seal does not represent Liberia, especially that motto, the Lord of Liberty brought us here. It did not bring my great-grandparents over there. They were already there when the settler came to Liberia, so it does not reflect me. So yes, but if you were to ask me today, what will I be focused on in Liberia today? I will focus on two major things. I'll focus on the economy of Liberia and the drug epidemic. But this is a very good topic to discuss, but I don't think it's the most important thing today, based on your question you asked.
Great. Let me go back. Mr. Taiwo, you got 30 seconds.
Yeah, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
Look at what happened. You see what I just pointed out. That is what most of the people that are writing that comments pointed out. I didn't say that symbol shouldn't be changed, but I just said that I don't think that's the most pressing issue, because the system that the symbol is attached to is rotten to the core. So unless you tackle that system, which is, how many times have I advocated that we need to change the constitution, or at least move for us to amend it and remove things that are tying the country down, like
Mr. Gilman,
dissolving the legislature or something, completely abolishing it, or at least the Senate, or writing to where they don't have the right for them to be determining what they make and what they get and all of this stuff. So if all these things are in place and you just change some flag, they don't do anything. That is the point that I've made. That symbol shouldn't be changed.
Okay.
Let me come in, Mr. Tao. Let me come in.
Mr. Vane, go ahead.
See, this is one of our biggest problems. We're too confused. Mr. Ismail pretty much unraveled. He unbundled the entire folder. There was no way anybody could have stepped aside what he said if we were not so confused. The Constitution is not the issue here. Today is Flag Day. We're discussing, let me tell you something. A great man once said, if you don't know where you're coming from, you'll never know where you're going. Economic issues will always exist. This argument came out in 1980 after the coup. 1996, this argument came up, the economic issue. 2000, it came up, economic issue under Chancellor. The whole thing came up again on these seals under Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in her first term. Economic issue, the bread and basket issue. Today again, our brothers are on here talking about the economic issues. There will always be economic issues. And let me clarify this. We were never colonized. If we were colonized, the colonization society were not going to buy land from some of our chiefs to accommodate our brothers and sisters who had come back to the long lost land. All right. So the issue of whether they were there or not, we only know Liberia today as it is because a line was drawn. Prior to then, there was a vast land going all the way to the Sahara Desert. Period. Everywhere you could just move and settle anywhere, and you're settled. If we were colonized, why were the government at the time actually resisting the French and the British? If it wasn't for that government, Sierra Leone would have come as far as Bami County. Even though most of Sierra Leone is Liberia, and a great portion of Guinea is Liberia, but they could only use what they had to fight. But they did their best. They were somehow patriotic. We're not going to reject or refuse the differences that they brought and other things. But look, amongst us, even me who come from the many ethnic speaking background, we discriminate. Let me tell you, the most tribal people that discriminate against Mandingo people in Liberia are either from the north or from the western region. Okay? The Gola men would discriminate against Mandingo men before the Bassa men would. I lived in Grand Bassa and I had nobody discriminate against me compared to a Mende man. Someone who is Mende, who is, if I, a Mende is Mandingo. We discriminate against the Mandingo man. So discrimination is human nature. We have it right here as we speak. One or two families running this country. They've always been running this country. So let us not fool ourselves and say, oh, whatever, even though we're talking about finding our identity, finding who we are, and just dismiss everything else that they too came and did. They were operating according to their time. Yes, they came with ideas, but it wasn't their fault. We all play a part in this. My great uncle Kisa Oboso did sell some of these people as well. So go ahead.
Okay, let me go to the diplomat here, Mr. Eastman. Why do we need a flag anyway? You are muted, Jimmy.
Thank you very much. I like that question, and it's fundamental. I think it's a very important question because it asks you asking. Wait a minute, the thing you're fighting for. What is the purpose of the flag? Flags were introduced. It's a European concept actually. Flags were introduced, so it was a way of claiming land or identifying yourself. So if you want to be identified as a Viking or as a Greek or whatnot, you use a certain flag to represent that. Okay, and a whole lot of wars were fought just because of a ship was carrying a different flag. Whenever they conquer land, they put their flag. So that's what it was. It was to stake a claim and identify who you are. So our flag is identifying who we are. Now, if we notice that many African flags, the colors of Africa are the black, gold, green, and red. Red for the blood of the people, green for the land of Africa, black for the skin color, and gold, yellow or gold is for the riches of the continent. And so that is generally considered the Pan-African colors. Even Jamaica and all those people use the same colors. However, we adopted the red, white, and blue simply because before all that stuff started, before that those colors were adopted for Africa, we had to survive. Now, I like a lot of the things that everybody has said here, but just think back a little bit. And you are a black man in a world that slavery exists, and you are trying to survive, where all around you are the mighty nations, and any one of them could grab you and re-enslave you, and you trying to exist, be independent in that kind of atmosphere. A lot of times you would do what you have to survive. So the flag actually was adopted because it was a way of shielding us under the American flag so that we wouldn't be taken over. Now, when some of the other things that were adopted was narrow. I will agree with narrow-minded, but put yourself in their mind. They're trying to establish a state. They didn't think a whole Liberia by that time. It was just a little piece of land that they had acquired, whether through sale or negotiations. Because I understand they're not negotiation, not purchase of the land. One side of it understood it was a purchase of a land. The other side, it was just a lease of the land. But that's another discussion for another day. The idea is they were only governing a small part. So everything they were writing at that time was for that small group. But now that we've expanded to a nation, we need to be more inclusive. We need to make sure that we incorporate all of us, every part of Liberia, that we can be represented and be proud of. So I wouldn't condemn them to say they were narrow. They didn't want the exclusive. They weren't. Liberia had not expanded as what it is today. But when we started expanding, we have to also expand our minds. Because many places in Liberia were really independent on their own. You couldn't go to Gola territory and do anything you want. Just what my brother Ali was saying. You could not go there. They would destroy you. So that thing was only on the coast. So it was gradually that we became the Liberia we are today. So instead of faulting them, say, okay, you did good for your little piece of land you had at that time, but now we are a nation. We need to include everybody.
Right. Please mute when you're not talking to me. Okay, let me go to Dukle. Dukle, Honorable Dukle, if we change the Liberian flag today, will it make you less corrupt? Will it make me less corrupt? Will it make Liberia less corrupt? Will it improve the infrastructure, the education, the health? Will the flag, just changing the flag, will that do it?
I think, Mr. Gaiman, that question is really conflicting two things that are not mutually exclusive, really. The corruption that you mentioned in your question, just by changing the flag is not going to get rid of that. But what I want you to remember is that there are ills in our society that is reflective of this flag. There are ills in our society that this flag represent. And so just because we are changing the flag, I don't want you to conflict that to say if we change the flag, is that going to end corruption? No, these are two things that can be dealt with at the same time. And by that, I means we need to embark on the road that is going to lead us to all these things that we are talking about. We're not saying drop everything and change the flag tomorrow. That's not what we are saying, or that's not what we are advocating. But we need to acknowledge the fact that it needs to be changed. And the changes that we are calling for, I mean, part of the problem I see with the Liberian mentality and the way we look at things is always around, now we've come this far. What's the big deal with it? But I mean, someone cited Burkina Faso as an example. If you look at Burkina Faso, the name Burkina Faso means upright people, right? And then they changed the name, they changed the flag. I mean, why did they change the name? The reason was that name was given by the colonizer, the French people, Haute Volta in French. And so they did not want that because that did not represent them. So you talk about corruption, you talk about changing I mean, you just can't put those two things in the same sentence simply because this one is a governing issue that must be dealt with. And again, when I speak on these issues, I've always said one of the things we needed to do is to come up with constitution that reflect our new reality, which is post-war Liberia. And some of these things could simply be, you know what, if you build a house that is worth $100,000 and your salary is $15,000, you must account how did you come to afford that building, and this must be enshrined in our constitution. I remember very well a very famous phrase that was used when President Anwar Sadat was ruling Egypt, and the phrase, if you translate it, it means, where did you afford this from? How come you were able to afford this? This slogan was to go after people who became rich overnight without really having financial or economic ability to afford those things. And so when we enshrine these things in our constitution to reflect our new reality, so that people can be held accountable in a way that doesn't infringe on their rights. And so when we talk about changing the flag, all we are saying here is because changing the flag is recognition, is to recognize the ill that this flag represents. Remember, look, there's a lot to talk about here because this flag is tied to the American colonization society. And if you really dig deep down into the American Colonization Society, this was an organization that has to do. It has a lot to do with religion, and at the same time making sure that the people who are coming, they are going to be representative of the American Colonization Society objectives. And part of the objectives was their religious conviction. I don't know if you remember, there was a ship among the ship that transported people in Liberia called Jesus, Jesus of all names. So look, our history is a mess, and we need to acknowledge it for what it is and start to work on it. And that does not in any way suggest that we should let go of the ill that is corruption and all the other things we talk about. Those can be dealt with the laws we have on the books now, and the leadership that our nation requires to deal with all these ills. So I don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying. That when I say that I'm one of the proponents of getting rid of the flag, this does not in any way means that we are going to abandon our history. No, it's forever going to be part of our history. We can't erase that. But it's about time we embark on the road that can correct or rectify some of these ills and makes all of us to be a part of this process in a way that it does not injure any party, despite our diversity and our linguistic differences and all the things that's supposed to bring us together. The flag is not something that brings us together.
Great. Namwe, give us a history here. Who are those people that designed our flag? And should we give them credit for what they have done, that have endured all these years? Or we should just trash what they have done and say, you know what, you have bad intentions, so you don't belong here anymore. What do you make of those people? Who are they?
Well, a group of 7, I believe, headed by Susanna Lewis and the rest of them, Draper, Johnson, Rossum. They're a group of 7 women. Should we give them credit? Absolutely. I think the original work that was done by them deserves some credit. But again, every everything, every creation, needs modification as time progresses. So at the time when the flag was created, I don't believe there was so much what's the word I'm looking for? But there wasn't yeah, there wasn't so much awareness of the individual identities. There wasn't that much clamoring for the various identities in Liberia to assert themselves. I think it was there was less concern then. I'm not sure. I have to probably go back and re-up on it, but I'm going to assume that the agitation as it is now wasn't as robust as at the time when the flag was designed. So those women got to work, whether they were designing it or pattern it after the U.S. flag. I think that's not the point. I think they were given a specific task, which was to design the flag, and so that's what they did. So we should credit them. But yeah, as others have said, I think over the years, as time progressed, I think it is way past time when that flag, was revised to represent the embodiment, of Liberia, which is, all of us who are represented in the country should be represented on all of our symbols if they are to fully represent the country. The flag as it is, it doesn't represent all of us. The seal as it is, it doesn't represent all of us. So those things we have to change them so that they reflect the totality of all of us who make up the Republic of Liberia. So I think those amendments are way overdue. And I believe it was Mr. K, who indicated that yes, there was, and I said that earlier, there was really very intense discussion right after the coup to change the flag, the seal, even the Constitution. I think we went ahead and did some work on the Constitution, headed by I think B. N. Cassidy was the first, and then I think Dr. Sawyer. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's how we came up with the 1986 Constitution. So those two symbols, the seal and the flag, I absolutely agree. Are they taking away right now from the development of the country? Maybe not in a substantial way, but all of these little pieces add up to creating the spirit, esprit de corps, spirit of the group. We have one group. One cannot be represented more than the other. We all should feel represented in as much as we all feel the pinch of what happens to us in the country. I think we should all, our representation should be reflective of what of us, and the flag isn't. So I again to put it down and let Elvis take it up. Credit to the women, the seven of them who designed the flag, because that's what they knew at the time. I'll argue, but now that we've gotten much clarity and exposure on symbolic representations, I think the flag is outdated. It doesn't represent me. That flag doesn't. It doesn't represent my people. It doesn't represent
What you mean? Can you elaborate what you mean? It doesn't represent you.
So the colors which Jimmy very aptly described, I think the star was supposed to symbolize the new dawn. I'm not sure about that.
We got a
What
lot of
new?
definition.
Yeah, a lot of definition, but the star should represent, I think, the single independent republic on the continent or something like that. Yeah, yeah, my people were already here. All right. There were natives that were here. Liberia began before 1840, 1822. So, to say that, these people came here and declared independence in 1847 and all of that, I'm not sure if I ascribe to that, and then we can talk about the 11 stripes, the red, white, and blue and all that stuff. But my point is, we thank them for originating the symbol at the time. I'm sure my people probably didn't even know about symbolic representation, as I believe it was Jimmy also who said, because those are markers. Those were really, as you conquer territories, you mark your territory and you raise the flag to indicate that yes, you've taken this territory. So they were very meaningful at the time. But as of today, I think the flag needs to be revised to represent all of us. I think I've said too much. I will leave it there. Thank you.
Okay, let me welcome Mr. Elvis Morris. Mr. Elvis Morris, before you ask you, oh, what happened?
Man, doesn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I see. Mr.
Ev-
Morris,
Ev-
before we go into the Liberian thing, should we change the United States flag? Should we be advocating to change the United States flag because it didn't include us? We were not here, and there were natives here, and new people coming. Are we going to keep changing flag every time to include everybody? Is it possible before you go into we discuss the seven women here?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gibb, and hello to the my fellow panelists. Look, I've actually evolved on this issue. You know my stance. You know where I stood before and how I saw things. I think that we have to give these men their due credit. I think looking at the time that they tried to form a nation, like Mr. Eastman was saying, surrounded by people who would have probably enslaved them, had they not had some association with the United States of America, had they not had the ACS standing behind them and giving them the support, they probably would have been enslaved. And slavery at the time was still fresh in their minds. It was an evil institution that they and their ancestors had endured. And I think the idea of forming a nation based on freedom and black men self-determination is a noble one. So I think the flag represents, they say the star is for the light on the dark continent, which I thought was now looking at it in hindsight was a bit too much. But the idea is noble. And these are men who were ahead of their times. These were men who were defiant. These were men who wanted freedom. and wanted self-determination and self-governance. So I applaud them wholeheartedly, completely from where I used to be a few years ago, because I've had this conversation with few people online, and I got more information and just being empathetic and putting myself in that position. I understand where they're coming from. Now, like everybody is saying, like what you're saying, Mr. Gayman, what is it? What do people say? To the victor go the spoils, right? And sometimes people who are in the majority, they tend to make the decisions. You think if African Americans were 70 or 80% of the population in this country, all of those, Confederate flags, state flags, you think they would still be up? You think those are a statue of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jack, and all of those guys who were enslavers and fought against, the Union to keep people enslaved? You think African Americans would still keep those symbols and those statues? Of course not. But they don't have the numbers. They don't have the power to effectuate those changes. So the fact that in Liberia we are the people, the majority of the people are quote unquote the native people, we can reform the nation, not to exclude our foundation, but to include, our addition to the new nation that was founded many years ago. So I think it's something that we can do in brotherhood while acknowledging the fact that these men was in, a position that was very difficult. And the idea that they had a vision that they wanted to be free and self-determined, we have to give them the props for that, and then clue ourselves into the new nation as one people and build from there forward. So I don't think we should make a more out of this. For what it was at the time, it was a great idea. The flag does resemble the United States flag. Nobody can deny that. But remember, they were quote unquote managed by the ACS in its infancy, and they wanted to be associated with the United States. Although ultimately their ultimate goal was to be self-governed, which they accomplished, and to have a nation that they expanded and included many other counties that we have in the country today. So kudos to them. But I think now we can reconstitute a nation that reflects everybody, like everybody's been saying. That's my take on it.
Great. Mr. Taiwo, we have here the flag was designed by all women, right? Susanna Elizabeth Lewis. We have Matilda Newport, Rachel Johnson, Mary Hunter, Mrs. B.J. Roswan, Cornette T. Ellis, and Sarah Draper.
You see that there's no Nimla over there.
Listen, ain't no Nimla supposed to be there. Nimla didn't come over here. You are on shit. Mr. Taiwo, these are women that were put on a committee because of their intelligence and their know-how. And they said, guys, hey, ladies, please come up with something, design something that will represent us. And they came up with this and put it together. And it still, after 178 years, it still stands. Don't we owe them a lot of gratitude that they gave us an image that we can go around and do our right and all that stuff?
Okay. So gratitude for what? Because remember, we have to make this clarification, and we should be truthful here on the facts. Liberia was colonized. Okay? Let that be established. We were colonized. We're talking about expansion and doing other stuff that they bought land. Where? Okay, how did they get all of the counties, all these areas? So no, that the military were used, all of the record is there. And when the indigenous are resisting, 2 American gunboats came and fought for the settlers who are culturally and ideologically just like them, other than the skin color. So Liberia was colonized by force. And then subsequently, after the people were subdued, we then saw the treatment. So no, the flags were not just designed. Yes, the statement was made here. When your flag is designed, the whole flag concept is complete European construct if you look at history. Because these were people who have scavenged and destroyed their own land, consumed everything with termites. They were killing each other. Go and look at them, their history. So they scattered around the world to go conquer. Flag came about so that the different gangs, when they seize a territory and plant it, that the other one know that this other one already have it. So this whole flag stuff, because you ask a question, should we even have a flag? It is not an African concept. But what happened? But because everybody else was colonized, so this is what was being done. So when the so-called started to gain some quasi-independent, everybody started to copy the same thing because monkey see, monkey do. But so no, I don't. The symbols of that flag don't represent us like Mr. Nangbe said. It doesn't in any way represent us. And my brother Morris just said that they wanted to be close to the United States. Yes, if you look at it from the context of the settler, right? Yeah, they did what they had to do. They were not protecting Liberia like as the general population when they made the flag and all this stuff. No, they were looking at their own colony and their own survival. What difference were it going to make it was going to be colonized by the French or the German? Ivory Coast was colonized by the French. Are we better than them? But Kenya by the British. Are we better than them? So it doesn't matter who colonized you. Nobody wants to be colonized. Okay? But it don't represent us in any way. We want to say the love of liberty brought us here with the other stuff. Yeah, everybody came from somewhere. But the cultures were similar. Remember, this is cultural stuff here that we're talking about based on some value systems. If you look at the West, you ask a question, look at America. America and Liberia's story is exactly the same. They said that they were persecuted in England. They got on some boat. They came here. They wiped out the people, took the land in all kinds of bogus treaty that they bought some land, everything. There was no proof for it. They expanded all over the place. It's the same thing. They came in, they said they came to Chevrolet Island. They wanted some land. They planted a flag. Then what happened? The balloon, they took over the whole place.
30 seconds, please.
Man, don't interrupt
30
me.
seconds, Mr. Gibbon.
Don't interrupt me.
No, when you finish, just 30 seconds.
Not a broadcast stuff here.
Thank you very much.
No, but so
I just can't help myself. I listen to this guy.
Come on. Go ahead, Len.
Yeah, so Len, let me tear that thing apart.
So that's the whole thing. So yes, the flag doesn't represent us. All the symbols, if they're changed, yes, it's a sociological story like that Mr. Duke went into, and he's correct on that. But my thing here is changing all these symbols and having the same structure in place. Yeah, it can be a place to start, but having all the same structure in place still bad is going to still give the same bad result.
Thank you. Mr. K,
Yeah.
while you respond to that, please include the definition of the whites, the rare white. The white stand for moral purity, according to the moral purity. So go ahead and
Mr. Gilman.
Yeah.
We gotta be careful when we disseminate information.
Right.
When he said Liberia was taken by force, what is he talking about? Is he talking about Staton? What happened at Staton Creek? One little territory, one little spot where they bought, pay for. I believe it was some folks used there. We said Liberia was taken by force. Mr. Government, the settlers could not penetrate a bombing county if the Gola people did not allow them.
Thank you.
We willingly, the West, the North, and even most of Central Liberia, we willingly turned over. They could not overpower us. Our number was significantly higher than theirs. They have one man one. You put one shot, you shoot. You put one shot, you shoot. We could have killed all of them if we wanted to. So we can't just make the statement that they took the country, the whole Liberia by force. That's a wrong statement. We know something happened back in the 1850s in Maryland, but that was just in the upper area, not even the entire Maryland County. They settled right around the ocean. If you go to Greenville, their homes are right there, right around the ocean. Look, things could have been done better. But remember, we used to come from Masadu in Guinea, which was Liberia. Come to this government, come to President Gardner and say, you are sitting down, the French is taking over us. We were willing to turn over. In fact, there are Madingos and Lomas in Guinea now that should not have been in Guinea.
Mm-hmm.
So to just make the statement here and say they came and took Liberia by force. And to say Liberia and America's story is the same. It's not true. The settlers, what we call settlers today, they actually drew a constitution protecting land for the indigenous. protecting 90% of the country for the indigenous, over 90%. In this case, over 50,000 in some places were just cleared. The entire New York was taken. The entire Maryland is taken. How can you compare the two? Let us be honest when we're having this conversation. Okay, Mr. Gilman, the flag, whatever is said on the flag, whether what is purity or not, if you ask another person, another historian, they will tell you what the white stood for. I think I've heard at least about 6 different interpretations of the flag. What is clear is that those who made the flag did what they knew. What they knew was where they came from. That flag does not represent us then, did not represent us then. It doesn't represent us now. It is time for us to evolve. Your identity, one of the reasons why we cannot go anywhere is because we don't know who we are. Back in the days when I was growing up, when you call a man, called by Jakpazua in a classroom, they laugh at him. They have to be Dennis Morgan, then they clap for him. It's because people lose who they really are. They were given the wrong information, miseducation. When your eye open, over 51% of Liberians are educated today. What's the problem? Why can't you change? People change all the time. All around us, people change. Even those who are colonized, full-fledged colonized, they change. Burkina Faso was colonized for years. They changed. They didn't say unless our economy, unless we become a first world nation, we cannot change our national identity. Those things you see, flag, seal, it reflects your national identity. You have to teach people to accept their identity, love themselves, respect themselves, in fact, consider themselves first amongst all equals. And Liberia is not like that. Everything is twisted. Okay, if you want to cut, for example, most Liberians now, if they don't do what you call wedding, they're not married. I'll be damned. My stuff is African marriage. If you don't want it, you don't want to marry me, well, move on. But I ain't going to no courthouse.
But Valen, you wore white at your wedding.
Yeah, but white is So we gotta begin to teach ourselves and our children that comes after us that your name is dignified. Every African name has an interpretation. Somebody come and say his name is Elijah Johnson. What does Johnson mean? You can't tell me. But he feels proud that he's Johnson. But he don't want to be called Yakazuo. And that's crazy. And this is why we got to first start by changing we got to first start by changing these symbols because these are representation of our identity. Get identified. Not only get identified, accept your identity, respect your identity, love your identity, and appreciate your ancestry.
This got to be the longest 30 seconds I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the man spoke well. And I think yourself.
I agree. You spoke well.
Look at. I mean, you and Valley, y'all keep falling down.
No, I hit my phone. Sorry.
This is an ANC problem, you know.
I think so.
And I know all the texts will start coming, including
either group chat, you gotta post there.
Okay. Now, guys, we gotta go to the next topic, but today is Flag Day, and I think this is very important. For me, the flag is okay. My problem is the Constitution, our Bible that guides us, the compass that guides us. I'm fine with the same old inclusive, being adding few more to our seal. Fine. The flag, I'm totally for it. Everywhere we go, somebody has a flag. It is the Bible that is the compass that gave us direction that is killing us. Why are we wasting time on flag and symbol, and the Bible or your GPS is totally screwed up, Mr.
Look, like
that's how we all over the place. We got a GPS.
Like I said earlier, Mr. Gaiman, the Constitution, as I heard other people talking about, completely rewriting the Constitution of Liberia. I personally don't think it's a good approach. There are good elements, provisions in the current Constitution, there are other provisions that need to be amended. I think we can go with a constitutional amendment instead of trying to rewrite the entire constitution. You and I can agree there are articles and provision of the current constitution that actually represent the people of Liberia, right? But there are other areas like lawmakers determining their own salary, those kind of things. For me, I frown upon that. But citizens having the right to assemble to petition the government, other than that portion where the same lawmaker that we petition supposed to vote to tear a majority, that portion doesn't make no sense. Once we have over 100,000 people of that district that come out say we don't like this man or he does not represent our interest, that ESL should serve as a valid point for that point to be taken here. But if it goes among themselves, they are already in cahoot, they are already in this clique. They're not gonna throw one of their own out, right? So these things we can look at it and say, okay, let us amend the constitution in this fashion. Look at provisions that are not in the interest of the people. Look at provisions that are not working and amend them. And we have seen other democracies have been amending the constitution time and time and again. And after we have seen, we did not have the 1986 constitution until it was introduced, right? So we can do the same. They did not automatically rewrite the 1847 constitution. They only amended the 1986 article, the 1847 constitution, right? There are provisions from the 1847 constitution that are still in this 1986 constitution. So we can do similar things like that, right? We can walk and chew gum at the same time, but we cannot just focus on constitutional review and ignore the economic issue of Liberia. That's the part I'm talking about. Burkina Faso is doing almost similar things, right? In as much that they're moving this way, they are also doing things that are benefiting the ordinary people today and also making some changes along the way. But what I normally see from us is like we have all of these great ideas to make the countries better, and we overlook the people that this thing is supposed to benefit. You can't just go do constitutional review when the economic issue of Liberia is ignored. So Liberia's problem has always been economic issue. Ellington, it was never addressed. Weaton, never addressed. This current administration not addressing it. You understand? So when are we going to, because the reason why you want to do these things is for the best interest of the people, isn't it? If that is the best interest of the people, then you must, be intentional about what you're about to do. Focus on what you want to do and how it's going to impact the living condition of the people. Speaking all the terminologies and using all the jargon will not solve the issue. The bottom line here, the people must be represented. And the way you can do such thing is addressing the economic issue, is addressing the drug epidemics in the country, and also addressing the constitutional matter. So if we don't do that, it will continue to come around the table. Oh, we'll form. Every time committees have been formed, committees upon committees, the man who voted for APM terminal is the one right now leading the economic team, the current vice president. He voted for APM terminal. How is he going to make a change over there? I mean, we keep doing the same thing, like Einstein said, and expecting different results, right? We cannot do that. So the way we can do approach this national issue of Liberia, we have to address the issue that will benefit the people in as much that we're talking about constitutional reform.
Thank you. This talking about constitutional reform and the rule of law, it will segue into our first topic here. Hopefully, we can. Let me start with Mr. Nangwe, then I go to Douglas, and then come to Morris. We saw the eviction of the CDC, and then we saw government officials on the site celebrating. We are talking about the rule of law. We are talking about the constitutionality of some of these things. This is why we are saying it is not just the flag, but our guiding principle, the Constitution, and who enforces the Constitution, who implement the law. We saw the eviction. Some people say were political, and those who say were political, they were vindicated when government officials were celebrating. Your take on the eviction?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I think this should have been a law and order matter. But yes, there are videos going around now of government officials, celebrating. the eviction. I quite frankly, I think this is a failure of leadership on both sides. I think this is a failure of leadership by the leadership of the CDC. I think they've been in that building for 20 years. And those 20 years have not been completely peaceful years. I mean, they had to see this coming. And yet, at the end of the day, they seem to have been caught with their pants down. I mean, I think some of their valuables were destroyed, in the process, even though I think the demolition, I understand this was on the request of the owner. That is debatable. But I don't think the eviction necessarily had to lead to demolishing the building. I don't understand that too. I think there was the failure of leadership on the side of the government as well. I think this is one of the times when the president could have been really presidential. He could have really tried to help to mediate this thing. We know Liberia. We're all Liberia. Liberia is an imperial presidency. Nobody can say no to the president. I think he could have called in Mr. Dempster and being magnanimous with the CDC because they were magnanimous with him too. I mean, who doesn't know when he was sick and he had to be, giving, help by the former president. So I really think I expected this president to have stepped in and say, you know what, these guys are an opposition party, but this thing really it doesn't have to end this way. Let's find a way to resolve this. But that didn't happen. On the top of that, the amount of glee that is greeting this from the government people is just kind of really childish and infantile, really. I've seen some of the posts from some people I didn't even expect to write the kind of thing I've read on social media, kind of celebrating what happened. It's just very unfortunate. I'm glad the CMC has come out, to make it known that this didn't have to happen. These are some of the little tenets, the intangibles that constitute a functional democracy. You can't just be vengeful against your opponent to the point where you're chasing them down with bulldozers and all of that. But I like to acknowledge the presence here in the chat is very active. My soon to be demolished ANC boy, Dr. Clarence Pearson, one of our colleagues here is helping here. The next debate I will find him, I will cut him down to pieces. That is a promise. What's up, Dr. Pearson? It's good to have you on. But I will pass it back. I just believe this thing didn't have to go the way it did. But before I give it back, let me acknowledge President Weah. I think the fact that this man conceded the presidency with less than 18,000 votes separating the two of them, I think we give him little credit than he really deserved. This is really big. This is really huge. And I think really we need to really, really give him more than we give him because he could have decided to drag this thing out, and up to this time, Liberia could have been, could have been in a turmoil. I give him credit for that. Again, yesterday, he could have turned this thing into a spectacle, though, there are debates that you may not have that grip on the people to come outside anymore like they used to do. But he could have made a spectacle. He could have brought people out in the streets and just make the government look so bad. But yet, all right, that Chris, I will bring it up. But he issued a statement telling his people, to calm down. And I gotta give him credit for that. So, I just wanted to put that on before I leave.
Thank you. Let me go to Honorable Dukley. We are talking about one of the staunch Unity Partisans and a strong supporter of the president wrote a very telling piece. He said, I support the Unity Party and Joseph Ware and still do. He says, but this action on the part of the Unity Party cannot convince anybody that it was not political in nature. And we have to remind ourselves that the government comes and government goes. This is on statement, he says to the party. And then to see the deputy director of ELBC on his site saying, mission accomplished, This is what we wanted to do and all that other stuff. The government officials saying these things.
Well, I think I'm partially in agreement with what Brother Nagbe just said. I think the scene of that demolition out there did not really look good, and it did not really look good not only for CDC but also for uh, our body politics, really. Because look, uh, as things stand right now, I think George Weah has come to recognize that he's beginning to lose steam of this CDC party, and that's why the way he spoke yesterday, was it yesterday or day before? I can't quite remember, but the way he
I
spoke,
think yesterday. I think.
yeah, I mean, it was admirable the way he spoke, and because he could have turned this into another opposition rally moment to come after the Unity Party government, you know, and it wouldn't have been a bad politics had they come to the rescue of CDC to make sure that even if they're going to be evicted, so that it is done in a way other than what the way it happened, you know. But again, this is not the first time a political party has been evicted from the headquarters in our post-war Liberia, and so, but they also reflect the lack of leadership on the part of the CDC as a party, because it seems like their focus was entirely on governing the country, state power, and that's about it, nothing else. And these are things that really, that should have been taken into consideration and taking into account the fact that those 20 years that they have resided in that location, some part of those 20 years were very tumultuous over the years, when they were in opposition and even when they were in power. And so, how did this actually slip from them to the point where it got to the point where they had to be evicted in this manner? And I don't think the partisan of CDC are going to look kindly at George Weah and his hierarchy people of CDC, because look, the fact that we are here and the fact that the Unity Party government failed to come to the rescue, and sometimes we don't like to say this as loudly as we should be saying. Whoever is in power in Liberia is an executive, position where the buck stop with the president. A phone call to either party of this mess could have, could have, could have, it could have led to something other than what we saw. And so, but because the onus was on the CDC party, I wouldn't want to push harder on the Unity Party on this one. And clearly, their failure of leadership to lead to where it went to the point where they had to be publicly evicted in such manner, it's just unbecoming of of an opposition party of the caliber of CDC. So really, I don't know what justification they have. And even though I'm not intimate with the details, the court details of what led to the eviction, but clearly you can see the sign of failure on the part of the leadership of CDC. So, but again, looking at the history of our party, CDC is not the first party that have been evicted from the headquarters, and so we need to recalibrate our body politics so that the head of these parties are not only entirely focused on gaining state powers. And look, I've said this before. As things stand right now, this is a downhill for CDC party, no matter who is going to be heading it. And uh, there is a subtle recognition of the fact that George Weah is not the one who can lead this party anymore, despite all what you see or all the pretense you see people, exhibiting on social media and other places. So really, I think from here is the downhill for CDC.
Okay. Mr. Elvis, he didn't answer any of the questions that I posed. The question to him was the process, the demolition, government official celebrating on site and say mission accomplished. This does not go well with the process, due process of law, absence of political maneuvering. Your take on the issue?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. Look, I think I couldn't be more proud of former President Weah than I am right now. And the reason I am is because this is a guy who is consistently consistent in his behavior. He's not a rebel rouser. He's not a violent person. He's not somebody who, even when his back is against the wall and pressure is on him, is going to turn to the people who support him to fight for him. He's not that kind of person. And he's been that way for a long time. Many CDC has been, frustrated with him when they think that he should be calling for some kind of action against the previous, Unity Party government, and maybe even this government. But he's always kept calm and told them to be peaceful. Look, good businessmen would tell you no deal is better than a bad deal. And this guy was trying to extort the CDC, charging $4.3 million for a piece of property simply because you're trying to, raise these people because you think that it means that you probably put more sentimental value in the evaluation of that property more so than the actual land is worth. And CDC, in his wisdom, said, you know what? We can't pay that amount of money. It's ridiculous. Even if they had it, they shouldn't have paid it. But the one thing I would tell people is political headquarters are not political parties. The political party is based on the ideology and the people who share that ideology with the political party. The people that voted for the CDC, almost over 500,000 people, many of them probably can't fit in that headquarters. Many of them are in the Leeward County. They've probably never been to the CDC headquarters. It's not going to change their vote. This is not something that's going to change, people's feeling about the CDC because the headquarters was demolished. This is a property that was not owned by the CDC. The Unity Party, which is a more established, political institution, don't even have a headquarters of their own, quote unquote, that they own. I think they're renting from a property that I have some connections with. Previously, they were renting from, I think, the McLeans. So most political institutions in Liberia are renters. They don't go and build their own political party headquarters and live, and stay there for generations. So for me, I think what former President Weah said is they have a plan to build a headquarters, which I think would be the first for a major political party, which, again, it may not be in the prime location like that property was, but it will be something that can galvanize the civilians. It will be a setback for, a setback for comeback. And I think they will rebound. But let's be fair to CDC and let's put the microscope on the Unity Party government. From the beginning of this government, we saw that they tried to stifle the CDC political voice. They stopped, they barred them from protesting. They were at the headquarters of police on the road every few months, continuously trying to stop CDC, from having any political voice in its administration. And like many people have let the cat out of the bag, their mindset is that if we stifle them, if we put our foot on their necks, we will kill the political party. And you can't do that. The thing about Liberian people is you're not going to see them right now because it's not even close to the political season. All the people who are changing their mind or who have changed their minds, who probably will flip their votes come 2029, they're not making noise in the street. And Liberian people are very sympathetic. Some people say the reason Boycott won is because people felt sympathetic with him, that they rejected him in the way they rejected him in 2017 by only winning one county, which is outrageous for somebody who was former vice president. And many people will have sympathy for the CDC come 2029. My biggest thing here now is that I think President Weah and Alexander Cummings should join forces. It's a different discussion. But I think the political party is not dead. People still love them. People still look at it as the only probably viable alternative to the Unity Party government. And come 2029, I think they will have a new headquarters, whether it's built or whether they're renting it. But again, the symbolism of tearing that place down is in the minds of the Unity Party, crushing and crumbling the CDC political institution, which is foolhardy because political ideology lives within the hearts of the people. not in any tangible building infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eastman,
Yes.
I read the president's letter twice. And what I saw in there was a brilliant move. You and I been in the political communication for a long time. He says, calm down. Let's regroup. I'm coming back to the nation, and I will take the case to the people in every county. And the folks will rise up. We will have a new headquarters. We will build one sooner than later. And we will be who we are. The building didn't make us. We made the place. I think this gentleman, for people who are underestimating him, they are out to get a rude awakening.
Yeah, you know, I was in Liberia just 2 months ago, and I went on the airfield, and I saw the house I was living in, you know, and I look at the house long time. I said, yeah, it got some memories. Look, the only thing that CDC is sad about, they have memories with that property. Okay, so there is a sort of emotional attachment to those memories, not even so much the building, but to the memories. And that is what's going on today. So, but when you talk about the party itself, the CDC is a grassroots party who defeated the elitists. The UP are nothing but elites, the so-called elites as compared to the seditions. They came from nowhere. That's why they love we are, because he was a boy from Gibraltar, came out of nowhere and became a star. He represented their aspirations. So the only thing CDC has to do is they have to regroup and provide the same inspiration that they did before. What happened though, I don't think they handled the 6 years very well. I think when when it went to power, you know, when he finally got power, I don't think they paid enough attention to the grassroots, the downtrodden, the people who got you there. And so because you didn't pay enough attention to them, you lost their vote. And that's why you lost the election. But anytime, if you can garner the votes of the disenfranchised, the impoverished, those left out, the Zogos, the youth that are you know, drug infested, if you can get them to believe in you, you will defeat the UP party. So what make noise about this headquarters is just a building. It is not the spirit of the party. But if you're challenged to rekindle the spirit of the party, that is when you allow something like the property transfer back go to the owner. You're allowed to get that in your heads. That is negligible. But the real challenge for the next coming years, can you garner back the faith and the confidence that people had in you? And that is what's the real question is. But this building, beside the emotional attraction for the memories and whatnot, there's nothing that should thwart in their efforts to regain power. The problem there is, will they be able to get the same faith they had before? Will the people restore that faith in them? So I think for the party, somebody forward looking, I think who mentioned it? It was Elvis. He just left, but maybe they need a joining up with other forces to rekindle that revolutionary grassroots, you know, fire that took them to the helm of leadership in the beginning. They have to be very crafty in it. But this UP leadership and administration, with all we see the same elitism to go. People can't hardly buy baby food and can't go to send their children to school, but you're taking home fabulous salary, gas slips, all those things on top of it. You think the people not looking at that? But you let them get somebody who they think they will support their efforts tomorrow, and we will say goodbye UP. So I don't see this building as that much of a blow as some people term it to be. This is just a we remember some good times at that compound, and that's it.
Okay, Mr. Tao, if I were UP, right, you have your opposition on the ropes. You got this. Please, guys, let's mute. You have this eviction thing hanging over their head. Instead of keeping it there, why help them? Now they're most likely now to gain sympathy and momentum to come after you. Why?
You know, I don't know. I'm a bit confused, because the reason I say I'm confused is that the property belonged to the government of Liberia. When the case start on the eviction store, when the family wanted the property back, was it on this Bwaka government?
Yes.
No.
No, it's older than that. And then the next question
let him mentor. Let him mentor.
He's asking for information.
No, he's not asking you. It's rhetorical.
Listen, it was 2016 when Bwaka was vice president under the Unity Party government. Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So then the next book, I'm going to address these real quick. And the next one is, what do we want from the president? When the president was violating Supreme Court order by removing people from tenure position, we criticize him for not respecting the judiciary. Here is the Supreme Court issue something where the CDC lost in court. Then people are saying that the president should take phone and make a phone call. So me, I don't understand. I'm confused. This is a private matter between a political party and a private family. The Bwaka government generally have nothing to really do with it. If you look at it now, we can say, hey, maybe they play on a hand game because we saw government officials they're celebrating. That doesn't represent the whole government. I mean, in my opinion, of coming together to craft something where I was in power for 6 years and the same case was still going on. So this is not, you see, this is not a UP stuff or Bwaka stuff. I mentioned this here before. This is the problem we have in Liberia. This is how the political parties treat even themselves. They don't care about even themselves. To establish themselves, to put something in place, to even treat themselves well. Imagine these are the people that will bring the power. When each of them, when they come to power, their goal is to loot as much as they can. They forget about where they even supposed to establish. Where, and the reason they can't even do that, my young brother Elvis made a point that political, it's not about the building, it's about ideology. The problem is none of them have one. They really don't have one. Look at other than what is a UP, what is a CDC, or even the ANC. They don't have no real ideology alone that they rally around. They just throw slogans up and down until they get into power in the loop. So look, let's leave. I leave the government out. There's not a government issue. Now there can be speculation, but it's the CDC failing, just like the UP and everybody else, for them to be able to do their own stuff to secure their own party. The president shouldn't make no phone call. For what? So now government officials celebrating. You ask a very good question. Let me end it here. Remember, the kind of political system that we have is pretty much divisive and enemy shaped. So if you see the other guy, everybody wish that something bad happened to the opposition, the person that competing with them. That's just it. So government officials showing up there, that is an embodiment of the political system that you have. Because you want your opponent to be weak enough to have enough damage so that you continue in power. That's just what it is. Now, we can say it's wrong or whatever it is, but that is what we have.
Thank you. Mr. K, he made a point when the spokesman for the government mouthpiece, ELBC, is on site celebrating a mission accomplished. Some people think that the representative of government, like he said, they are celebrating. If I were UP and I wanted the upper hand, why give CDC a lifeline?
First of all, he's not the spokesman of the government. The
The director of the
spokesman,
government.
Listen, man, he's director of ELBC,
ELBC,
a state-run
director,
radio. Yes.
Mr. Gilman. You're not
LB,
gonna have your
LBM.
way, no matter how much you push this. ELBC, even the managing director of ELBC is not the spokesperson of the government. The spokesperson of the government or the spokes agency of the government is the Minister of Information. Let us first of all establish that. And I don't know if this is ironic, but I have to agree with Mr. Tao over there. Few years ago, not that long ago, Unity Party was asked to leave. They went through a court proceedings where the landlord won a case. Unity Party then decided, I will pay the rent. We can make some increment in rent. The man said no. They said, okay, we can buy the building. The man said, if you want to buy the building, this is what you got to pay. Unity Party said, no, that's exorbitant. What did the Unity Party do? And this was during the George Weah administration. Unity Party packed up and left. Can we now say that CDC was responsible for the eviction of the United Party? Okay, so the next argument is, okay, some guy from EFBC says something that he shouldn't be saying anyway. Should be focused on improving wherever he works in. Well, let's say he said that, or some other people said that. We saw a Karas Gray when the United Party was getting evicted. These are the people who want to rule government. They can't even pay rent. We saw Seko Carrasco, special aid to the president. We saw a barrage of government officials under the CDC. Should we conclude that the CDC was the reason why the party was evicted? Or can we then say, using our common sense, and say, oh, these guys made mockery of us when we were evicted. So we too are going to make mockery of them. Could it be that simple? Or do we have to deeply politicize it? So the truth be told here, this thing is not Joseph Walker issue. We understand that you guys will try to fit it on Walker because you're looking for everything that sticks. You're worried about 2029. We've got more than 4 years to go. So it cannot be about Joseph Walker issue. The police inspector general said the court asked him to assist the sheriff. You leave it. You see Joseph Boakai sending there. What about the document from the court? Do you regard that? Or you don't care about that? You only care about well, then that's positive as a giver.
Mr. Namwe,
I wanted to rebuff Mr. Kamara for a
go
second.
ahead. You got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yo, Mr. Kamara, I actually agree with you. It's not really a rebuff. But it's that I don't think I even made the case that the government was behind it. And I don't think many people are even making it that case because we understand that this is a private matter, right? And I think the government official going on the site of the demolition and saying this is what we wanted. CDC never went and ever told anybody that this is what they wanted and they wanted to, evict Unity Party. Unity Party were delinquent in the payment of their rent. They were behind many months and in the terms of, I think, like 64,000 or something like that. CDC, that's not the case. They were never delinquent in their rent. It was a negotiation where the price was changed from 1.3 to $4 million, which
It doesn't matter. They were evicted too.
No, come on now.
One second. Apples and apples, right? So the point here is that this eviction was not based on any delinquency from the CDC. They could pay their bills. They paid their bills for all those years, and the Unity Party did it. That's where the economy is. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Namwe, as an institutionalist, I will ask officially that the entire leadership of the CDC be dismantled. I'm talking about Kowo, Koji, everybody that is in power. When something of this magnitude happened on your watch, and you were on a soccer team, we fired the coach and his entire staff. I think the chairman, the secretary general, and the entire hierarchy of the CDC should be fired, and they need to re-establish the hierarchy of the organization.
Is that how it works? Is that how it works, Mr. Gaming, or do you have to wait for elections and then vote new officers?
Well, listen, I'm saying as an institution, as someone who works in management, if you are running the Miami Dolphins, or you are running the Unity Party, or the True We Party, or how they call them, the Democratic Party, whenever we have something of this magnitude, listen, heads got to roll. This is negligent at its highest level. Mr. Namwe, what do you think?
I couldn't agree with you more. If you remember my first input on this, I said this was a failure of leadership on both sides, and I maintain. I think, like you're saying, I think the CDC should have anticipated this. In spite of all this, this is a long drawn battle they've been going, I think since 2016 or so. So they should have seen this coming, and I think they should have prepared themselves. I mean, the things that we saw them pulling down at the in the compound, it didn't suggest that they had enough time to move the stuff. I don't think they and also I agree with you that to have allowed this to come to this. I mean, look, I heard the former president, of course he's going to try to juice up the base and tell them, the party is in the heart and all of that. I get it, yeah, but he's wrong. Party is about symbolism, the sycamore tree, the whole, all those drawings and all those things there, those are the embodiment of the party. So when you lose those, something happens to you, a piece of you, get lost in the process. And I think they could have managed this thing very well, but they didn't, And I hear Mr. Kamara, doing his best to extricate the president, and I agree with him. This is not the president's, it's not his community, to speak my little Pele, But look, we are all Liberians, right? We all know what happens in Liberia. A case of this magnitude. The CDC is the largest opposition party. You don't let that happen to it on your watch. It makes you look little. It makes you look very, very petty. You're using state apparatus, violence against another opposition party. You're trying to break the CDC down using government apparatus, government force. That it makes you look very small. And I think the president he should have avoided this. I understand and I respect him for not interfering with the court process. But at the end of all of this, when it became apparent that this was going to happen, I think he should have called his people in and said, look, let's find a way for these people to, to orderly, resolve this than to have done it the way they did. And I maintain that. I don't care what Mr. Kamara and others think. And yes, they will come on here and tell us, they have an AI image of a palace that they're going to build for the CDC. The president I went to that 9th Street compound where it used to be a club. I know that building has been there like forever. Why didn't he give it to them before? And now they're going to be stationed in a Carlos Gray's, backyard, where you got to go outside and stand outside to pee, and all that stuff. That's what they're going to be doing for the next several years. We are not building no building until 1929. We know that. All of this is just posturing. It's just fronting.
You said 1929?
Mr. Gabriel, the only sympathize on the CDC is only thing. Give me 15 seconds to push back on Mr. Namu, please. I know I'm asking for a lot of 15 seconds.
Yeah, I'm 2029. 2029.
Yeah, Mr. Namu, first of all, the political institution you support, they have no symbols that we can even associate with them. So I guess by your logic, you don't need. No, Mr. Gabriel. Don't
Which political party is that?
The CFC.
Oh,
Your
see,
political institution that you support, they got no symbols. I guess by your logic, we don't. Your political party don't even exist. But secondly, let me just say this: Mr. Nabwe, as a man who I have a lot of respect for, I'm sure you're financially prudent. Not because you want to show somebody that you are in charge or you have the power. You let somebody extort you for millions of dollars above. You have to be a purchaser for value in due course. You can't let somebody come and charge you an arm and a leg for something just because you want the symbolism of it. You're smarter than that. So to say that the CDC should have paid and taken care of this bill because they don't want to lose the symbolism of their political institution is wrong. And then lastly, look, having a political base is not something that the CDC is, needs to invest so much money in that they're going to go bankrupt. They have an election coming up. They have by-elections coming up. They have to be a sensible, fiscal sound party. So to say that they're supposed to go build some kind of big mansion where everybody's supposed to go pack in there and make it look like they're so successful, no. Anywhere the people hearts is, this way. Anywhere, once you have the people hearts in mind. Anywhere you tear up together, that's where they will gather. Unity Party won this election, going to this small, ATS. They were not even gathering to their political headquarters. They want the ATS. The way all the people want all together in West Point and want the political power. Musa Belete will know he's a money bag. You're behind, and maybe he will build some kind of big political party for you. With only 15 people standing in the halls of the political party, but you don't have the hearts and minds of the people. That's a difference between.
Morris, tell me number 16. Okay, go ahead.
Let's not do dialogue between you and Morris. Let me come in for a second.
Let me say this quickly. Let me say this.
Let me come in there for a second. No dialogue between.
Let me say this quickly. One, I do have a lot of respect for Elvis as well, but there are times he displays selective amnesia. I never said anything about paying any money. No, I think it's an extortion. But I'm saying to you, they were unprepared to the extent that they're going into a Carol Smith backyard. They should have had a fallback position where they could move their stuff. They don't have that. It's a failure of leadership. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not saying they should have bought that building. No, they should not even try to fight over something that they knew they were going to lose anyway. It made them look stupid.
That's a fair point.
It made them look very, very incompetent, unmanagerial, and I agree with
you. Mr. Gimmer.
They should fire all of them.
Great.
Mr. Gimmer.
I have not spoken on this issue, Mr. Gimmer.
But Vida say the city. Oh, that's what I wanted to come in 30 seconds.
Mr. Gay.
Yes, sir.
The next one, President Walker came back yesterday.
Yep, I watched that.
And they're asking about this, and he said, the law is the law. As the executive, it's their job to enforce the law. This brings us to the same thing about the white line in our flag that says moral purity.
Yes, sir.
The president is saying the law is the law, and as president and head of the executive, it's their job to enforce the law.
Jerome, when they were calling the court to let Julie Andy to interfere in Julie Andy and Prophet Key's situation, wasn't that the law?
Speculation, man. Speculation.
Prophet Key went to jail the next day. He was on.
Not only that, they gave $100,000.
It's another speculation.
The president said he's a man of law. He only enforces the law. But when the Supreme Court ruled, he said he would side with the majority. When they said you cannot remove the people, he removed it. But this one, this is the selective president we are talking about. You see why the people say everything he does is vindictive. Your take on that?
Look, you raise a valid point. Here's the president that just talked about national reconciliation, right? Look, whether or not CDC lost the kid in the code of competent jurisdiction, allowed the process to take its course. Having the police, having government officials at the site, especially, the director of LBS, putting the debris together and say, I need to take a picture of this one. At least, and you drive. But somebody said, but I thought you're a journalist. Why are you doing this? You're like, I think the mission is accomplished. I need to have it, as a first-hand information. That is sad, right? This president went to Japan, $260,000 for 40 person at a rate of 6,500 economic class ticket level. Not everyone flew economy. Some of them flew first class. But just on the baseline, just on the baseline, 6,500 from Liberia to Japan. You understand? That's 260,000. For what reason? Came back empty-handed. So this demolition was a way to distract the attention from that exuberant trip. And all of them that went on that trip also got a stopping. And that they don't want people to talk about. So, politically speaking, CDC wanted this to happen, to say, UP did this to us. UP also fell into the trap of CDC. CDC knew that they lost the case. That place was going to be taken from them anyway. But they wanted, a scene. And they got that scene yesterday, right? That the UP coming after us, they are intimidated by us. And look, if you want national reconciliation, Mr. President, then focus on that, right? This right here, in as much as it has nothing to do with the president, technically, because it's a private property with a political party that is not in office, an opposition political party, the president can go about his business. But when you, the same president that when the Supreme Court ruled, you use the justice minister referencing the law in his own way because he works for you, and you went against the Supreme Court ruling. So you can't come back and say you are a man of law now, because even the Human Rights Report implicated this administration as well. So where do you stand? Are you trying to play into the hands of MCC compact grant so you can get it? That's the reason why you're talking about the law is the law, or you're trying to play into the in the sentiment of the people of Liberia to say, oh yes, we're standing tall. The major issue on this administration hand is the economy and the drug epidemic of Liberia. The finance minister have done nothing to address the economic issue of Liberia. He even said that this administration in 2025, no civil servant will make less than $150 a month. That has not happened yet. It is 8 months into this administration. In 8 months into not this administration, but 8 months into 2025. So this demolition today was a good strategy in their opinion. But I can tell you, it was a bad strategy for this government, right? Allow the homeowner and CDC to sort that thing. They already won the case. They would have left that place gradually, allow the situation to unfold by itself. But by you validating what CDC wanted you to do, you did it. CDC was losing their membership. Now they will gather, even like the FS said, even the owner of one plum tree, they want to gather, they will gather there. For them, they don't care. They feel as though the blue runs through their blood. I have not seen any human being with a blue blood anyway, but yeah, that's what they believe, right? They believe that the blue runs through their blood. And so, metaphorically, that's what they say. So, for me, I just think this circumstances, knowing the Liberian politics, the way it plays out, is in favor of CDC. That's what CDC wanted anyway. And the government just, put the icing on the cake for them.
Thank you. Guys, we have run out of time. We are going to take 1 minute each to close. And
Let me go for it.
I'm seeing the signal. But Mr. Eastman, here we are closing our event today, closing this show, and we are talking about CDC versus UP. No political party owns any real property in Liberia. Even the True We Party, the building was taken because the money was used, even though it was called the True We Party building, but with taxpayers' money. And CDC has something going for itself. CDC is the only opposition party in the history of the Republic of Liberia that took state power. None, no other one has ever done that. So here we are. Let's close out here with your few minutes you have. What is the way forward for political parties that are emerging, like the CMC and everybody else? What lesson can we learn from this in your closing?
Oh, I think great. I think the lesson to learn from it, if you go there and the people elect you and you don't do the people work, this is what happens to you. Now your enemies can keep dead in your face and laugh at you because you're down on the ground. But as any good warrior knows, when you're down on the ground, the hardest thing is to get back up, knock the dirt off, and keep on moving. So this is a good test for CDC. If they're going to be a resilient, a strong party, this is the time to prove it. So with that being said, hey, enjoy your Flag Day. That flag has protected us. We need to come together, as one of my brothers here said. But we need idea. We need come together under something. We need a sense of direction. Okay, so just changing things that are not what we do. Let's first know where we want to go. Then we change things according to where we want to go. I close right there.
Thank you, Mr. Taiwo. Your 1 minute.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was a good show, and thanks to our viewers. Well, when it comes to the flag, yeah, the symbols need to be changed from my position, but I don't think it's the real pressing thing here right now. And if you change it, and the system that brought about this flag, if it stay in place, then the changes just don't mean much. But look, when it comes to the CDC stuff, for me, I don't know why the government keep being mentioned. I just don't understand. I just don't understand. The case is a long-running case. It was even unaware. Yes, we can say that. You remember Fagon? Remember that he was kicked out of the CDC government. So he been waiting for him to go back there and do his vindictive stuff, and that's why he's over there. And yes, this is the kind of stuff that the president could have taken some kind of action, maybe on him, or issue some statement that he did not represent the government, something like that. But that, I don't think the government, this stuff here, is on the CDC. They fail. But this is the message here to the Liberian people. You see how the political parties handle themselves? They don't care. The parties are just vessels that are used so that they can grab state power and loot the country. These people really don't care about these parties. They use them. And that is why they really don't build anything. That is why they don't really invest into the party. That is why, and because they don't really have, tell me what is the ideology of any of the parties actually, other than slogans here and there, arrest, propos, just those vague stuff. Can anybody actually articulate, say, this is the ideology of the CDC or the UP? It doesn't exist. Because they really don't have to do that, because they think it's based on some kind of popularity. If you are able to get more, it's not what you can actually do or what your real program or ideas are, you know. But look, to end this, these ANC people that were here criticizing when I came here almost 2 years ago, now they see that Cummings can't even get vote in his own neighborhood. They are now pushing that Cummings should ride on George Weah coattails somehow, so that they can come to power. Out of a certain George Weah does no wrong. Dr. Pearson is one of those. I was in the show with him, and it's like, that is all he's pushing. Out of a certain George Weah is not an angel. I saw this man dismantle George Weah on all kinds of shows. But then again, this is the kind of political system that we have. Once your interests change, so nobody's committed to the country. We see people moving between political parties. What the Kumi said that was so wrong or so right, or what is Musa Belite going to say in terms of his idea that is going to be so different? But you see, everybody trying to place themselves, or CDC said, or UP said. But you see, people move back and forth between these parties based on some kind of interest, not even in the interest of the nation. That's really sad.
Thank you. Thank you. Valley K.
Yeah, your
I think
homeboy,
I was
your
supposed to
homeboy,
report that, but
your
anything about that.
your homeboy Tao taking a shot at you and Mr. Nangwe. But listen,
I said, talk your own. Talk your own. Talk your own.
let me close here. Political polarization is a national epidemic, and it requires urgently medication in Liberia. We no longer see the reality. We no longer stand for some moral ethic or value. Everything is about who we support and how we can destroy someone so as to get the upper hand. And this in itself is a disease. And I think it comes from the mind, and something needs to be done about it. Look, gentlemen, all of the nations around the world that are competitive today, the first thing they had to do was to establish their national identity and to stick with it and to refuse to allow any influence to dominate their national identity. Let's look at China, for example. You will never see a Chinese man called Jeremiah. Now, let me tell you something. India was colonized by Great Britain for several years. India has a national language regardless of the fact that they speak English. You will never see an Indian man called Ezekiel. You're not going to find that. It's going to be something from India. They were not among the top nations when they knew these things. One of the ways to start national development is to increase the level of patriotism in your people, and national identity is the beginning of that. Unless we do these things, remember, if you don't know where you are coming from, you wouldn't understand where to go. So we can push economic issue every 10 years, every 20 years, every 30 years until our generation expires. And then the next generation come. They have been brainwashed with our mindset, claiming intellectualism. At the end of the day, they follow our footsteps and they just remain the least in the world. Right now, we have fifth poorest nation in the world. We always have these economic issues. Let us set the foundation. It's not where you fail, where you stump your toe. Mr. Gimmer, thanks for having me. Thanks, guys.
I think Valley has a point here. If we don't identify who we are, we can read all the dictionary we want. It will make any difference. It will make any difference. Mr. Gay, I call you because they try to take shot at you. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, for the conversation. As always. Yeah. But before I make my closing, August the 24th, the weekend of the 24th to the 26th, we're going to be gathering in Atlanta, Georgia.
Who the we?
Oh,
The
thank you.
ANC diaspora.
What do you mean the 24th to the 26th? What are the 24th?
I say October.
Oh, okay, you said
Oh, did I
August.
say August? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right.
August 24th is something that it's a very important day to me because as a kid in Granger, that I represented my school, and it was something unique for me as a young kid. I think I was about 7 years old when I did that. So yeah, I still remember
Isn't
August
that what we
24th.
call United
But
Nations Day in Liberia?
No, October 24th. They were coming
October,
up.
October 24th in Atlanta, the ANC.
It's going to be UN Day.
October 20th, UN's Day. I'm 24.
No, October 24th is United Nations Day.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's not.
Oh
let's
yeah,
not,
maybe I forgot it now because I was
Yeah,
a
go
refugee. I'm
ahead.
supposed to remember that day. But yeah, we will be gathering in Atlanta, the ANC. We restructuring, rebranding, and reimaging all of that stuff. So ANC is ready, coming back with force, and so I want to encourage every Liberian to the United States and Canada. If you are available that weekend, make your way to the Atlanta, Georgia, where your ideas, your suggestions, to everything that we do matters. Come, and we welcome everyone to come. Every Liberian whatsoever you find yourself. Come to Atlanta, Georgia, and the ANC will be launching a new way forward. So as per our conversation, I want to say, yes, we can do both. We can address the economic issue and also address the national identity issues with us, recognizing where we're from, and we should be proud of our heritage, proud of our culture, proud of everything that we know of Liberia. Look, we are the only group of people in the entire globe that speak the way we speak. You may find a Sierra Leonean sounding a little bit like a Cameroonian or Nigerian or something. You will not find any other African group that sound like us. And our accent is very unique to us, and we should be proud of that, and we should also do things that resemble us. So yes, Vavi, I agree with you on that part. I also want to say that, much like we talk about politics all the time, we are all one people, and we should do it, with respect, and each and every time we do it. Insulting each other is not the way to go, and I think Liberia is very unique for a reason because we, tolerate a lot of people. But man,
Of course, my man, all the 2 hours. That's
so yeah, so definitely I want to say thank you to everyone, and you're welcome to Atlanta, Georgia. Every time I come here now, Mr. Given, there's on the people that will fly up because I share the flyer with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Maurice.
All right. Let me say happy Flag Day to all of my compatriots, fellow Liberians. Look, when it comes to symbolism, there are always esoteric and esoteric meanings to every symbol, right? Those who are the ones who follow the symbols, they know the true meaning for the symbols. Those who are on the outside, they only have the profane meaning of the symbol. So for me, I would tell you that what this flag means to me, I'm not going by the official, things that people say the red, the white, the blue means this. It means defiance. It means self-determination. It means black men who may have had different experiences and different trauma than we had on the continent wanted self-determination. They wanted to be free. They wanted to govern themselves. They wanted to have their own nation, led by themselves, and have their own future determined by themselves. That's what it means to me. And I've come full circle to that understanding, and I greatly respect them, especially during that time. To have a nation, a foreign nation, it's a great endeavor, and it was a great undertaking that they did it. Other things happened along the way that wasn't good, it wasn't perfect, but the idea of the flag should be respected for what it stands for as black people globally. On the political issue, look, I think CDC had a perfect leader in former President Weah. Because many people know CDC is a rowdy party. A lot of people there are quite rowdy, but they have a cold leader, a man who is not quick to anger, a man who is kind of slow to react. He's not reactionary, which is good. Because I think had it been the opposite, we would have probably seen a lot of violence in the country. And let me extol President Weah for actually turning over power. I'm glad the CDC will not be one of those political parties who have a sitting dictator in the office of the presidency, who refuse to leave after they lose, who wants to hold on to power by all means because they see no other life after political participation. So for me, I think that the ANC and the CDC institution, I'm hoping that something great will come from a collaboration between the two of them. I'm seconding any kind of collaboration between the CDC and the ANC. I hope the ANC people are strongly considering it. Their pathway is the best, it's the most clearest if they're aligned with the CDC. If Cummings is number 2 or number 1, I would support that ticket. I think outside of George Weah, based on my own innate love for him, the second person I would consider is Alexander Benedict Cummings. I think he's qualified. I think he's been quite well tempered. I like his leadership style. So I think coming 2029, I'll be more politically active. I'll probably join officially either the CDC or the ANC, depending. And I will give all of my brain to help usher one of those political parties into power, back into power. Thank you for having me on, Mr. Gideon.
Thank you, Mr. Nangwe.
Yeah, congratulations to our ANC brethren. A robust opposition. I think it's good for all of us. Congratulations on their upcoming event in Atlanta. We'll be watching and wishing them well. Look, I wanted to go back quickly on the flag representation today being Flag Day. Again, I think the ladies who designed the flag they deserve commendation. For their work, original work. The flag was designed in 1847, I believe. And women didn't have the same much in Liberia until around 1950s. So those women were only carrying out an assignment that was given to them. So it's not their fault that the flag was designed the way they did. So congratulations to them for the creativity, for realizing the vision of the bosses who assigned them. But I agree with everyone who has said here that the flag needs to be updated. It's dated now. It needs to be updated to reflect present day reality. Yeah, Okay, so I'm looking for my official invite. I don't want no internet flyer coming in my email box. If you send it to me, I will delete with immediate effect.
Trust me, the official email will come directly to you and Mr. Gimman, Mr. Elvis, every one of you.
But coming back to the CDC and the UP and the eviction, right? I would just say this: look, there is a way to fight, and you can fight fair. I think what the UP is doing right now is unfair. The way they're fighting, they're hiding behind the government to fight for them. I think it's wrong. I think it displays a fear of the CDC, and I wish the government had, than the government, but the president, have had found a way to help resolve this, in a better way than what we saw yesterday. But they didn't do that. And now some of these people are gleeful, they're celebrating. I don't think that makes them look good. For the CDC, I think they were counting on this thing, garnering for them, sympathy and solidarity. I think it backfired. It makes them look weak. It makes them look incompetent. It makes them look incapable of managing anything. Just like this, they mismanaged the government for their 6 years of misrule. And that's what they did to their own party headquarters. They knew this thing was coming, and yet there is no plan B. They have absolutely no fallback plan. To go in a Carol's Great backyard, that's the plan B. Everyone you go to Moravia, you go to a Carol's Great backyard. You can't even eat your food. You can't even swallow your food there because the flies will be all in your face. Is that what you're going back to? Dr. Pearson, when you go there, where you drink your beer, you'll be drinking flies from your glass.
But where CMC going? The movie ability mansion? Like where you going to have your own political
headquarters? But man, before 2028, we'll know the two CMC.
Anyway, look, we are in the opposition community. I'm not happy about what happened to the CMC. I mean, the CDC. But I hope the guys will grow up. They're too childish in the CDC. Bunch of little kids. They know nothing about governance. They know nothing about management, including the former president. He is the best footballer out of Africa ever. I respect him. I love him for that. But as a manager, he not make it. He not make it. And he will not make it.
You wouldn't become president and senator. What do you mean not make it?
Anyway, thank you for the show. It's been a great show. Let's do it again next Sunday.
We all love you, man.